Chapter 1. Why has to be powerful? So powerful that if you don't act on it, it feels like you're losing your life. Most people pick weak whys like, if I study for 6 hours, I can play games after. But the brain is smart. It asks, why not just play now? And then 6 hours of gaming replaces 6 hours of studying. That's why your why must feel like a do or die situation. Think about a child growing up in poverty. Their only escape is studying or working with discipline. If they don't, the cycle continues. That's not a soft why. That's survival. Psychology research on motivation shows that when goals are tied to intrinsic purpose, like your values, your future identity, your survival, rather than external rewards, your brain engages its long-term reward system instead of chasing short-term dopamine. In other words, if your why is about comfort, you'll get distracted. But if your why is about survival and transformation, your discipline will become unshakable. Chapter 2. Cut the dead weight. Discipline isn't only about willpower. It's about environment. If you keep everything that tempts you within reach, your brain will always take the easy path. For example, you say you want to study, but your phone is buzzing with Instagram notifications. The simplest solution? Give your phone to your mom. Lock it in a drawer. Or use an app blocker. Now your only option is to study. Or think about health. You say you want to lose weight, but your shelves are full of chips and soda. Research from Brian Wansink at Cornell University shows that people eat more junk food simply because it's visible and accessible. Just seeing it makes your brain crave it. On the flip side, when healthy foods are easier to grab, people naturally make better choices without even thinking. This is called choice architecture. You design your surroundings so the disciplined option is the default. Imagine you crave junk food at night, but the only way to get it is to walk 2 kilometers to the nearest shop. Most of the time you'll skip it. That's not willpower. That's smart design. So cut out the dead weight. Remove distractions. Hide temptations and replace them with tools that push you toward discipline. Your environment should work for you, not against you. Chapter 3. Plan like a soldier. Think of yourself as a soldier or even a sergeant responsible for an army. Except this army is your life, your studies, your family, and your future. A soldier doesn't wake up and say, let's see what happens today. No. They follow a plan because lives depend on it. Your life is no different. You may not be on a battlefield, but the responsibilities on your shoulders. Exams, career, family, health are real. If you don't plan, you drift. And drifting always takes you backward. Research from psychology shows that people who make a clear implementation plan, deciding when, where, and how to act, are up to 2 to 3 times more likely to achieve their goals than those who just try harder. For example, you wake up at 8 a.m. It doesn't matter if it's not 5 a.m. or 3 a.m. What matters is what happens after you wake up. If your first act is making your bed, your brain gets a small reward. It feels, I've started winning today. That tiny reward pushes you to take the next task, and then the next one. But if you wake up with no plan, you'll default to the easiest things: scrolling, snacking, wasting hours. So plan your day like a soldier. Write down tomorrow's tasks the night before: when you'll study, when you'll exercise, when you'll rest. Then follow that plan with discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your brain builds trust, and trust is the foundation of discipline. Chapter 4. Start micro. It's wired to resist sudden shocks. If you've been scrolling for 8 hours and studying only 25 minutes, how can you expect yourself to suddenly reverse it? It's like asking a couch potato to run a marathon tomorrow. That's why you must start micro. If you usually wake up at 8 a.m., don't force yourself to wake up at 3 a.m. tomorrow. Just set your alarm for 7:35. Nail that first. Then, gradually move earlier. If your goal is 8 hours of study, begin with 25 minutes a day for a week, then increase step by step. This builds momentum. Research on habit formation, OBJ Fogg's Tiny Habits model, shows that small, consistent actions are far more likely to stick than huge lifestyle overhauls. The same goes for fitness. If the gym feels intimidating, start at home with push-ups, squats, or a 10-minute walk. These micro actions compound into massive results over time. Remember, climbing a mountain always starts with the first small step. Discipline is nothing more than consistency in small wins stacked day after day. Chapter 5. Swap, don't suppress. The truth is, you can't erase a bad habit by sheer force of will. Your brain hates an empty space. If you try to just stop doing something, the craving grows stronger until you fall back into the same cycle. That's why the smarter strategy is swapping, not suppressing. Think about dieting. You eat chocolate and sugary snacks every day, telling yourself, "I'll never touch sugar again." Almost guarantees failure. But what if you swap candy with naturally sweet fruits or soda with sparkling water? You still satisfy the craving, but in a healthier way. Psychology calls this habit substitution. When you link the old trigger to a new action, the brain rewires faster because it doesn't feel deprived. For example, if your habit is scrolling on Instagram when bored, swap it by keeping a book or a notebook nearby. The trigger of boredom stays the same, but the response changes. If you snack late at night, prep fruits or nuts instead of chips. Research on behavioral change shows that people who replace habits instead of suppressing them are more consistent long-term, because they don't fight willpower every time. Remember, bad habits don't just disappear. They're overwritten. So, instead of trying to erase, learn to replace. Chapter 6. Honor every promise. Discipline begins with self-respect. Imagine you're both the commander and the soldier of your own life. When a commander gives an order, a soldier obeys because there's respect. But many of us treat ourselves like our own promises don't matter. We say, "I'll wake up early tomorrow," then snooze. "I'll start that project this year," then never do. Every broken promise quietly tells your brain, "My words don't matter." Over time, your self-trust disappears. And when you don't trust or respect yourself, it's almost impossible to stay disciplined. Think about relationships. People who chase someone who repeatedly disrespects or hurts them usually do it because they've lost self-respect. They allow what they would never tolerate if they valued themselves. The same thing happens with discipline. If you want to be unstoppable, you have to respect your own word as if it's law. That means when you say, "I will start a YouTube channel this month," you mark the day, plan the steps, and you do it. No excuses. Psychology calls this self-integrity. The more you act in line with what you say, the stronger your confidence and discipline grow. Your life is a mission. If you don't honor your promises, your brain learns to ignore your own voice. But when you keep your word, even in small things, you build an unshakable trust in yourself, and that trust becomes the engine of lifelong discipline. Chapter 7. No excuses, no compromise. Excuses are the silent killers of discipline. Think of yourself as a soldier whose country is at war. Would you ever say, "I don't feel like going today, I'll fight tomorrow"? Of course not, because you know millions of lives depend on your action. That's exactly how your own life works. Your future, your health, your dreams, your family's security, they all depend on whether you show up today. One excuse may feel small, but excuses multiply. Each one makes it easier to quit the next time. Research on self-regulation shows that giving yourself a pass, even once, makes your brain more likely to repeat the same behavior. A phenomenon called moral licensing. We convince ourselves we've done enough, so it's okay to slack off, but no excuses doesn't mean perfection. It means ownership. You will fail some days, everyone does. The difference is how you respond. If you plan to work out but skip, don't reward yourself, give yourself a growth-based punishment. Word is final. You become both the commander and the soldier. You give the order, you obey it, and if you don't, you face a fair but growth-driven consequence. That's how soldiers win wars, and that's how you win the war against procrastination. Chapter 8. Discipline as a Lifestyle. Real discipline isn't a 30-day challenge, it's a way of living. Think about brushing your teeth. Many of us grew up with parents who wouldn't let us eat before brushing. At first it was forced, but after years of doing it every single day, it became automatic. Now, if you try to eat before brushing, it feels wrong. Your brain almost drags you back to the sink. That's what happens when discipline turns into lifestyle you felt wrong. That's the power of consistency. It changes your identity. So stop waiting for motivation. Build small, repeatable actions until discipline becomes who you are. That's how you turn effort into lifestyle, and lifestyle into success. Chapter 9. Outsource your conscience. One of the smartest ways to stay disciplined is to stop keeping your goals a secret. When you're the only person who knows about your plan, to study harder, make an academic comeback, get fit, launch a project. Then if you quit, no one will know. There's no pressure to stay on track. But when you tell the right people, you create accountability. Suddenly, quitting isn't quiet anymore. Be careful though. Don't share with people who envy you or secretly want you to fail. Instead, choose trusted allies. Parents who will check on you, siblings who will tease you if you slack off, embarrassing but effective, or friends who genuinely want to see you succeed. Research from the American Society of Training and Development shows that you're 65% more likely to reach a goal just by telling someone about it, and if you schedule regular check-ins, rely only on your own will. Outsource your conscience. Build a small, supportive circle that will remind you of your word and push you when you're tempted to quit.